Hariram Sankirtan ki Jai. Ki Jai. So we'd like to thank Anshu Guru for leading us in nice kirtan. Have a round of applause for him. After that, every week you're welcome back, Anshu. You don't have to come with Hadai Prana. Thank you, that was lovely. So welcome everyone, thank you very much for being here for this week's Bhagavat Sravana. We're very happy to have you all here with us, braving the hot weather to come in. Is there anyone who's here for the first time? I don't think so. Anyone for the second time? I recognize those two. Anshu's here for the second time. So you see, if you're here for the second time, you should be doing what he's doing. So next week, ladies, you'll be leading the kirtan, okay?
I just told her she needs to lead the kirtan.
Okay, good. So I think Rosie and Swasti, yes? Is that correct? Okay, beautiful. Lovely to have you back with us. You survived my talk last week, so it's all going to be easy after this, okay? And I think we have someone, you're here for the third time? Fourth time, okay. Great. Nice to have you with us. Okay, so we're very blessed and honored this week to have with us a special guest. He's come very, very far, just across the river, the East River from Brooklyn, where he spends most of his time. Very wonderful devotee whom I met in London, I think the first time. And I heard tale of him through a friend of a friend of a friend who said, oh, he teaches my daughter how to play harmonium in Ohio, in Columbus. And I went to him and he said, oh, and then later I wound up in Columbus, meeting your father on Kirtan Prabhu and spending time with him. So somehow getting connected. And then here he is in Brooklyn, serving, doing wonderful service, bringing especially young men together and actually exporting them from the UK, I think also. A lot of young devotees coming over here to spend time in New York City, get their New York experience. Is that good enough?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's New York, so you got to do that. So like that, we're very blessed and honored to have a devotee who's serving steadily in Brooklyn Temple, doing so many services out on Kirtan, most every day, and leading the charge, and book distribution, so many wonderful activities, looking after and caring for so many devotees. So we're very blessed to have with us today His Grace Hadai Prana Prabhu. Hare Krishna. And the topic for today? Okay, so the topic today will be Lord Balaram. Haribol. So there you go. That is next Friday, this coming Friday, will be Balaram Jayanti. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Hare Krishna. Simon wants to come. Still working?
He's only been here for 4 times, so he's not very good.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Am I audible? So far so good. So we'll sing the song called Jai Radha Madhava. Everybody knows the song. You can put it up on Google if you don't. It's how we start a discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. Jayam Mudiraye Nashtaprayesva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Shra Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Gunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam Shra He Krishna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusve Devi Pranami Hari Priye Panchakalparubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Galevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Konkaroti Vachalam Agumnangayateyam Tatkripatamaham Vande Sri Guru Pinatayam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Krishna. Hare Krishna, thank you so much for allowing me to speak. Every time a microphone is in front of me, it's a dangerous situation for any manager. So I'm really honored to be able to be in the Association of Vaishnavas and to be here in front of Shri Radha Muridhar and Sri Gaurachandra. Actually, I grew up, even though it looks like, my body looks like I could grow up in India, but I grew up actually where Sri Radha Muridhar are from, Cleveland, Ohio, and I grew up next to Columbus, Ohio. So it's very special for me to be able to please the deities in some way. And of course, Sri Gaurachandra, we'll be discussing about the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu today and how it connects with Balaram. So I wanted to actually speak about because we'll be hearing about this topic of Balaram Purnima for the next week or so. Balaram Purnima is on Friday, I believe. Juli Yatra starts tomorrow on the Ekadasi. And we'll be speaking, you hear many pastimes of Balaram, of him and Krishna, and him and killing Venukasura, and all these pastimes. But I want to choose a specific pastime that we don't usually hear on many Balaram Purnima festivals. And I'll show you the picture, and if anybody gets it in 5 seconds or less, money back from this class. This is a pastime. Anybody who knows it? Roma Harshana Sutta. Everybody knows this pastime? Familiar with this pastime? So in a very brief, I'm not doing it justice at all. Roma Harshana Sutta. So Lord Balaram is walking around, and then he hears this person sitting on a vyasasana like mine, and speaking on Bhagavatam, or speaking on Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And basically, Balaram walks into the room, who is not different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada says that the only difference between Krishna and Balaram is one is black and one is white. And Balaram his skin color is white. and he walks in, and all the rishis, all the great devotees, they stand up immediately. When a great person walks in the room, many people pay obeisances, but actually, according to this passage, you're supposed to stand up and offer respect with your hands. And basically what happens is everybody stands up for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, except one person. The one person is the one who's sitting on the Vyasasan, Roma Harshana Sutta. And Lord Balaram does not appreciate this. And Lord Balaram is known to have a little bit, not an anger problem, but like to display this pastime of showing anger. Even Nityananda Prabhu has this kind of pastime. Even though we sing a song that's written by Lochan Das Thakur, I still haven't figured this out. It is called Akrodha Paramananda Nityananda Rai, which means Lord Nityananda who has no krodh, which means no anger. But I can count on my hands how many times Nityananda Prabhu has displayed his anger. But anyway, so Balaram gets very angry. And he says a few choice words for Rama Harshana Sutta. And finally, he takes a piece of kusha grass. And you see Lord Balaram is holding a piece of kusha grass. And then he touches Rama Harshana Sutta on the head. And he immediately leaves the body. This is the gist of the pastime. So this pastime is so amazing because Rama Harshana Sutta is displaying himself as a representative. Whenever you sit on the Vyasasan, you're supposed to be a representative of Vyasadev, and you're supposed to say exactly how he said it. And Vyasadev is making the conclusion, Etem Chamsakara Pumsam, Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and also he glorifies Balaram in the Bhagavatam. So he did not honor Balaram, Rama Harshana Sutta. He didn't even recognize Balaram, Adi Guru. So, and Adi Guru is where knowledge comes from, and Guru can also mean heavy. So Balaram is Adi Guru, so he's like Adi heavy, very heavy. So Balaram immediately killed him. And so I wanted to pull up this verse, and we can maybe chant it together. And it is, and I'll just escape out of this. And yeah, this is the verse. This is Balaram speaking to Rama Harshana Sutta before the fatal piece of brass is dealt. You can be killed in many different ways: a car, a rocket. Then he just gets killed by a piece of brass. So let's chant this verse together. Risher Bhagavato Bhutva Shishodhitya Babhunicha Sekihasa Puranani Dharmashastrani Sarvasha Adantasya Vinitasya Vrita Pandita Marina Nagunaya Bhavanti Sma Namaskeva Jitatana. So, in this verse, Balaram is saying very gentle words to he says, Risher Bhagavato Bhutva Shishyo Dhita Bahunicha. You are a disciple of Vyasadev. You have a very nice guru, Vyasadev. And Seti Hasa Puranani. You know all the Puranas. You know all the scriptures. Dharma Shastrani Sarvasha. You know all the Dharma Shastras. You know everything. But in turn, what are you? Adantasya Vinitasya. You're not self-controlled. Danta. Danta means like a piece of grass. Humility is often like, we know that verse, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sanishtana Amanina Manadena Kirtane Sadari. To be humble like a blade of grass. You're Adantasya Vinitasya. You're not humble. You're not self-controlled. Vrita Pandita Manina. Manina, in your mind, you're thinking, I'm a Pandit. I am scholar. Na Gunaya Bhavanti Sma Natasyeva Jitatmana. All your study, all your intelligence, it has made you just like a stage performer. Natasya, like a dancer. You're a dancer to the will of the people. So this is what Anshu, maybe in a loud voice, you want to read the translation?
Although he is a disciple of the divine sage Vyas and has thoroughly learned many scriptures from him, including the law books of religious duties and the epic histories and Puranas, all this study has not produced good qualities in him. Rather, his study of the scriptures is like an actor's studying his part, for he is not self-controlled or humble, and vainly presumes himself a scholarly authority, though he has failed to conquer his own mind.
So amazing, right? Very small purport. One might argue that Rama Harshana committed an innocent mistake when he failed to recognize Lord Balaram, but such an argument is refuted here by Lord Balaram's strong criticism. So, Balaram's not taking any nonsense from Rama Harshana Sutta. And yeah, we'll go back to the presentation. Yes, so Balaram takes a piece of kusha grass and immediately kills Rama Harshana Sutta. So Rama Harshana Sutta, we can actually learn so many things from him. So much service, so much knowledge. Rama Harshana Sutta was not philosophically deviant. He was saying the philosophy as it is, but he was actually behaviorally deficient. He wasn't behaving right. And this is a point that we can extract from this pastime, is the study of Krishna consciousness is meant to bring a change in character. I was hearing a memory of Srila Prabhupada by Trikram Maharaj, and he was saying about, before he joined Krishna consciousness, he was a sociologist. And Srila Prabhupada asked, what do you do? He said, I'm a sociologist. We study common issues like alcoholism. And he says, yes, I know all you sociologists. You study alcoholism all day, and in the evening, you go drink alcohol. So, what's the point? What's the point, Prabhupada says, of us studying something, but if it doesn't bring a transformation of character? And we can extract many pastimes and many examples in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita about, if we're thinking, oh, Krishna's pastimes may not be accessible, who can act like that? Who can act like Prahlad? Who can act like these? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came only 500 years ago. And he showed through his own personal example and the examples of his associates how to act, and how to act in pure love of God. And so the first example that we'll take is Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri, when he was in the temple of Kirchor Gopinath, and he saw the offering going in. As you see, the offering will go on soon. And actually, there's a very nice tradition we see in all of our ISKCON temples, is when the plate is coming in, there's a cover over it, so that the people don't see and enjoy the bhoga. We call unoffered food bhoga, and offered food prasad. And so, why do we not want to we see the bhoga? Is because we don't want to enjoy before Krishna gets to enjoy. So, Madhavendra Puri is making the offering to Kirchor Gopinath. And he covered the cloth. And when he takes it on in front of his Gopinath, he sees the kheer. And he doesn't even have a material thought. He thinks, oh, I want to taste this kheer so that I can learn how to make it for Gopal when I go back to Vrindavan. And immediately when that thought came, he dropped the offering, didn't say a word, and left the temple. Because he felt that he had made an offense in his heart. Because he had tried to enjoy it before Krishna. How many of you have seen an offering of Krishna and wanted to eat before him? Who is sense gratified? What was it? Oh, the arepas, right? I remember we cooked the arepas together. Yeah, many. And so, same thing, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wanted to offer mangoes before, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, you shouldn't have eaten those mangoes. And you ate those mangoes, it's an offense because those were meant to be offered to Krishna. He made a vow, I will never eat mangoes again. In our case, there will actually be less things to eat than what we can eat. So, Madhavendra Puri, he considered an aparad, and Prabhupada uses a term that, about when describing this pastime, he uses a term about Madhavendra Puri, Vijita Sadguna, one who has conquered the 6 material senses. So this is, we may say that this is actually a very high standard, but we must understand that the whole point of the Krishna conscious movement is to become saintly. It is to develop these qualities that we're reading about. So we can take examples like, for example, the next person we want to speak about, Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami was in a fervor to go and run away with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His parents would try to lock him up. His parents would try to convince him. Millionaires, they're from a millionaire family. And finally, after running away so many times, the wife of Raghunath Das Goswami's mother basically tells his father, we should use chains to lock him up. And then Raghunath Das Goswami's father, he says this very beautiful verse. He says, Indra sama Aishwarya Stri Apsara sama E sabab handite narikela yandra mana. Indra sama Aishwarya. He says he has opulences like Indra. Stri Apsara sama. His wife is as beautiful as a damsel of heaven. E sabab handite. If these chains are not enough to bind him, narikela yandra mana, you cannot control his mind in any way. I have given him wealth. I have given him beautiful women. And he still wants to leave home and become a mendicant and surrender to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. See, Chaitanya Charitamrita is full of examples of such saints like this. Like, for example, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, before he's writing the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's going to the different temples, and before you start any great work or any great endeavor, you're supposed to seek the blessings of a Vaishnava or the blessings of the Brahmanas. So he goes to the Govindaji temple. Anybody been to the Radha Govinda temple in Vrindavan? If you haven't gone, you can take the F train and the A train and go across the river and you come to the Radha Govinda temple there. But in Vrindavan, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is going to the Govindaji temple. And we actually we can't understand the quality of Vrindavan 500 years ago. And there's sadhus everywhere. And when he's walking into the halls of Govindaji temple, and you can see this door is where the deities were. There's, in the corner, it's described, there's one person named Haridas Pandit. And Haridas Pandit was reciting the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat in the Govindaji temple. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he describes the quality of Haridas Pandit so beautifully. He says, Vaishnavera gunagrahi nada dekhe adosh kayo manavakya kore Vaishnava santosh. He says, Vaishnavera gunagrahi. He says, what is the quality of Haridas Pandit? He is only able to grasp the good qualities of the Vaishnavas. Na dekhe adosh. He is not able to see faults in the Vaishnavas. Kayo manovakye kara Vaishnava santosh. His mind, his speech, his words, everything was to make Vaishnava santosh, to make the Vaishnavas happy. This is the quality of Vaishnavas, of Haridas Pandit. So, his only goal was, how can I serve the Vaishnavas? He has overcome envy. We can see as Vijna Sadguna, one of them is pride. Who has overcome pride in the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Rup Sanatan, right? Rup Sanatan, they go in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They say, Nicha jati, nicha sangi, patita dham, kuvisha kupe padi, gonainu janam. He says, my jati, my birth is low. My sangi, my association is low. And patita dham, kuvisha kupe padi, gonainu janam. My whole life I have wasted in the well of materialism. Then they go on to say, Apanara hita hita kichu na jani, gramya gavahare pandita tai satyamani. He says, many people glorify us. Pandit, intelligent, Rup Sanatan say, that I am so intelligent. And like a fool, I believe them. I believe that when they say I'm so intelligent. But they're completely overcome pride. This is Rup Sanatan, who are governmental ministers who know many languages. And they completely go in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who says, I don't know anything. I'm here for you to instruct me. So who can understand such pridelessness? Vaishnavas are not an illusion. Vaishnavas actually, they only accept what is satya. They do not accept anything that is not truthful or not illusion. Here's a nice experiment that you can do. There's a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now we're going on to Haridas Thakur. Now, Mahaprabhu comes to Siddha Bakul and Haridas Thakur is doing his japa. And he says something very interesting. He says, Prabhu kohe Haridas kaha samachar. He says, what's the news, Haridas Thakur? What's the news? Now, this is a nice social experiment. Gaur Chandra is here. And he comes up to you and he says, what's the news? What will you say? Anshu, what will you say? What's the news? It's like, what's up? What's going on? Jaitanya Prabhu, what's the news? Gaur Chandra is asking.
How long have you got, Gaur Chandra?
Jai Shri Gaur Chandra ki.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't have much time.
He doesn't want to hear from me, probably.
Shri Radha Murli ki. Anybody have a valid response? What's the if Mahaprabhu comes and asks you, what's the news? Yes. Rani.
Like, I just want to say that, like, I'm understanding some concept and some ideas of what you're saying, but because I lack knowledge and terminology, I can't comprehend everything. Are you asking basically Mahaprabhu?
Mahaprabhu.
I have a difficulty. It takes me sometimes to remember the identity of the personalities. Can you remind me who that is so I can answer you?
Krishna, in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is coming and asking Haridas Thakur, what's the news?
So you're asking basically like what has happened new in our life?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna answer. I'm trying to make sure if I had the right context.
No, it's good. Like, now I'll explain to you what Haridas Thakur says, and you learn a lot about his devotion. It says, Prabhu kohe Haridas kaha samachar, Haridas kohe Prabhu ye kripa tomar. He says, Haridas says, Prabhu, what's the news? Kya samachar? Prabhu ye kripa tomar. Whatever mercy you have given me, that is the only news. Haridas, now you can understand Haridas Thakur's reply in so many different ways. But what I've understood, how I interpret this, is that there's really no news. There's nothing really significant and nothing really of value except what mercy I have received. What mercy we have received through the process of Krishna consciousness, and what mercy I'm able to grasp. Prabhu ye kripa tomar. This is it. This is his reply. So that's the only thing that is valuable. Everything else just comes, we receive it, and is immediately taken away. So what is actually that is going to count is what mercy we have received in this life, and what mercy we are able to grab. Because it's great if it's raining and you need water, if you have a nice pot to hold it. But what if you have a colander and everything has holes in it, and you try to catch as much rain as you want, but you can't catch it? Then what's the use? So a devotee, we can understand through this pastime of Haridas Thakur, he doesn't put any importance to anything that is transitory. No power, no influence, and everything just comes and goes. Some people are rich today and poor tomorrow. Some people have 1 million followers today, then their Instagram account gets hacked. You know, and so in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see those who have given up all these Vijita Sadguna. They have conquered. Vijita, Vijay means to conquer these 6 faults. And we can see even the example of Maharaj Prataparudra. Maharaj Prataparudra was a great king, and great kings are known to have a great amount of money. We were watching one YouTube video, and this billionaire was giving an interview, and this billionaire had just crossed the $1 billion threshold, and then he was asked, like, it's always funny when people ask questions after you have some accomplishment. Like, they asked the billionaire, what are you going to do after this? You reached $1 billion. And he just had a one-word response: more. Same thing like when people win the Super Bowl, right? They go, what are you going to do after this? I'm going to Disneyland. Or when this person said, I'm going to do it all over again next year. So like, 1's not enough, 2 is not enough, 3 is not enough. This material world it's always a, there's a certain class of people even these days, stay always hungry, make more money, do some side hustle, do some schemes, do some this, and then they use this term, always stay always hungry for more. But then you can understand if you just do some anvayam, we break this down. Stay always hungry means stay always disturbed. You're not happy anytime. So Pratap Rudra, he makes a statement now of someone who already has money, who already has riches. And he says, Yadi se Mahaprabhu napai kripadhan kivarajya kivaleha sava akaran. He says, Yadi se Mahaprabhu napai kripadhan. If I don't get the mercy of Mahaprabhu, if I don't get the mercy of Sri Chaitanya, Kiva Rajya, my kingdom, doesn't matter. Kiva Deha, my body and my subjects, Sava Akaran, no use. So, if I don't get mercy, it's no use. To overcome these faults, to Rupa Sanatan, Haridas Thakur, to overcome these faults and develop saintliness, it's actually the most difficult aspect of Krishna consciousness, in my opinion. It is very difficult. It's very easy to be here in front of a mic and speak something. It is very easy to sit in front of a harmonium or mridanga, lead a nice kirtan. It is very easy to do big projects. It is very easy to do many things, like we could chant many rounds. But to change ourselves, that may be the most difficult aspect of the whole process of spiritual life. Sometimes we do this thought experiment. We have regular brahmachari classes amongst the monks in Brooklyn. And we did one thought experiment once. And you guys can do it yourselves with this. That if we stripped our identity of our sadhana, our practice, our religious dress, and all the things that make us a Hare Krishna, or like just a dress and our sadhana. And if I'm walking down the street and I look at you, how would I speak? What is my actions? How do I carry myself? How do I interact with others? We think that when we're in the temple and we're in the association of devotees, we can act one certain way. But then when we go outside, are you paying that $2.90 at the MTA and on the subway? These things are, if you can't, Radha Maharaj says a beautiful thing, be conscious before Krishna conscious. If we can't even be a nice person amongst regular people, what to speak of the Vaishnavas in the temple who are worshipable deity? Vaishnavas are actually worth their weight in gold. So, so we just think about if we do that thought experiment, we see if we're stripped off of everything, have we changed in this process of Krishna consciousness? Are we stagnating? When we join, like it's very hard for me to think about when I actually joined because my parents are devotees. They've been in Krishna consciousness like 10, 15 years now. And like I think I've joined and left like in my childhood. I think I left and joined more than I actually joined. It's like at least like 10 times. I'm like, I'm not going to the temple. Oh, it's actually cool again. but we just look at it in the whole process of Krishna consciousness. Have we changed? Have we overcome these 6 things? Lust, anger, greed, the desire to be recognized. And so, I'll give an example at the end of somebody who really exemplifies this beautiful principle. And so, why doesn't our Krishna consciousness change? Why doesn't our character change in Krishna consciousness? You could be in Krishna consciousness for so many years, but there may be some psychological blocks. And I've compiled a few, there could be many, that is kind of blocking us in our spiritual lives. And you can see if any of these are holding true for you, for yourself. The first thing that I thought that is blocking us from changing is we think changing our character is not so important. We think that chanting Hare Krishna is the most important. We think reading scripture is very important. We're doing service, we're chanting, we're reading, but do we need to change our character? If we are affected by sin and aparad and all these things, then yes, actually character change is very important. What does Rupa Goswami say in Nectar Instruction? Prabhupada says in the first verse of Nectar Instruction, attitude. What was it?
It's in the preface. It says the attitude, one's spiritual development depends on the attitude of the follower.
Yeah. One's spiritual development is on the attitude of the follower. So if we come into the temple every time we come to the temple, and for me, I'm faced with this reality much more than anybody because I live in a temple, and I come to the temple room every day and I think like, okay, today's another day of doing the same old. But if we challenge ourselves every time we come in front of Srila Prabhupada, every time we come in front of Sri Radha Mulidhar, and we see that, wow, what's going to change today? What is in my heart that is going to change? So, if we don't think we're going to change, we'll come into the consciousness of sin and aparad. And to define what sin is doing things without Krishna. And aparad is doing things that are against Krishna. So this is why now let's see if we got to that hurdle. We say, okay, thinking our character change is important. Now another thing that may come up and say that everybody else needs to change. I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need to change. That I know it's important. That's why I'm sitting here on a class and I'm telling everybody that character change is very important. But look at my character. Maybe this could also happen because of lack of introspection, lack of feedback, and I think most importantly, lack of people that you have in your life that can give you honest feedback. Do you put yourself on a pedestal and say like, what is it? If somebody gives you a feedback, who is this devotee to tell me anything about anybody? I was in Krishna consciousness when he was in diapers. But like, you get my point. It's that we should always have even Prabhupada took correction from even karmis, from people that we say non-devotees. When Prabhupada had his heart attack in San Francisco, they brought a doctor in. It was Thanksgiving Day. There was no other doctor available. There's just one doctor coming in, and then the person looked at Prabhupada and then he said, they asked him what's the matter with Prabhupada. He said, nothing. Swami just needs to get out of it and stop praying. Swami needs to get out and stop praying. And what did Prabhupada do from that? Started his morning walks. So Prabhupada took correction and guidance and feedback from even non-devotees. So The next thing is we could say that I can't change. I am who I am. People have to accept me. I've been coming to this temple for like 5, 10, 15 years, and I am who I am. Everyone has to deal with it. Prabhu, it's my nature. One Karmakana Maharaj one time when he was in Brooklyn, he was giving a class, and he was saying something really funny. He said, now the most common argument for not doing service, Prabhu, it's not my nature. And he said, back in my day, we didn't have a choice whether it was my nature or not. Service had to get done. So, when we say that I can't change, then we just have to remember, Prabhupada said this movement, I'll get to I'm almost done with these. Just one more. Prabhupada said this movement is a movement to turn crows into swans. Crows into swans. So we have to be really convinced that this movement has a capacity to transform our lives. And the fourth one that is common even with devotees that I know is we think that it happens automatically. Character change happens automatically with the process of Krishna consciousness. So this is true. We know the famous verse from the 5th canto, Yasyasti bhakti bhagavati kinchana sarvai gunais tatra samasute sura. That the process of Krishna consciousness, if you follow it, all the good qualities of the demigods are instilled in them. Yeah. So if I just keep going Krishna consciousness, all will just automatically happen. But I think, honestly, in my reflection, I think there are devotees go to two extremes. One extreme is I don't need to change anything. Krishna consciousness will do everything automatically. But then the other extreme is, by my power, I will change my own character. Now, I think the more mature route is we will work on what we can do to change our character, but we need Kripa Tomar. We need Krishna's mercy. And I think the last point, we understand, we've gotten through the thing of we need to change our character, we understand we need to do it, we understand we need Krishna's mercy, but then the last one, I was thinking that sometimes it's just a little too painful. It's a little too painful to look yourself in the mirror when you're putting tilak on in the morning, and you're just like, I'm the same person that I from very beginning. And I don't want to think about it, I don't want to look at it, I just want to keep sweeping it under the rug. But we have to understand, if we don't develop these qualities of the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are developing, what chance do we have to enter the Chaitanya Charitamrita? What chance do we have of, if we're not knowing how to act amongst the devotees, how to act in the association that's given? What chance do we have that Krishna, we've given enough faith to Krishna that when we go back to the spiritual world, that we won't cause a ruckus, we won't cause any problems. So, this movement is, and the perfect example, like I said, that I think somebody who perfectly exemplifies these qualities of Vaishnava character, even amongst the regular world, is the example of Jayananda Prabhu. Jayananda Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, was so much so, it was so beloved to Srila Prabhupada that he said after he passed away, he said, put his name in the Vaishnava calendar and celebrate his example exactly like the Vaishnava Acharyas. Wow, powerful. This is the example that Jayananda Prabhu left. So much, like when Jayananda Prabhu passed away, one other devotee was going and doing all his regular services. And they go to the vegetable, like the sabji market, like they got vegetables. And they said, where's the regular guy? Where's Johnny Ananda? Where's Johnny Ananda? And they said, oh, Johnny Ananda passed away. The person who was selling the vegetables in tears, and basically says, I don't know anything about your movement. I don't know anything about your philosophy, I don't know anything about your practice, but if Johnny Ananda is with you, you guys can't be half bad. So much so that Prabhupada says there are two types of Bhagavatam. There's the book Bhagavat, and then there's the person Bhagavat. There's the book, which we're encouraging people to read, take home, and to distribute widely. But as people that have gotten the association of devotees, that have gotten so much mercy, and we're sustaining off the mercy of the Vaishnavas, we should actually be representatives of the Bhagavatam. When we go to work, and we're able to work or on the street, people should be like, wow, what are you, like there's a common saying in America, did you have your Wheaties this morning? You know, like, did you have your, what did you eat for breakfast? Like, you're so compassionate, you're so kind, you're so forgiving, you're not in anger. These gunas, because if you conquer these qualities, these Vijita Satguna, you'll become one of the most powerful people in this world. Because the whole world is trying to get rid of these qualities, of these bad qualities. So, and just to conclude, we can see by the example of Roma Harshana Sutta that even though he was philosophically not deviant, behaviorally he was deficient. And so a Vaishnava is not judged by what he knows. A Vaishnava is judged by who he is. So we will pause there, and my apologies, and for saying if I said anything against our acharyas or anything that was not Siddhantic, and please pray for me. And if there's any questions or comments, we can take them now. Yes?
So,
1 second, a mic is coming to you.
oh,
5 seconds less.
hey, so, hi, I'm Rosie.
Thank you, Rosie.
So you were saying that, like, you know, okay, there was a lot to unpack. You were just like going like a train. I'm like, stop the train, I have questions.
So sorry.
So hard to like put it together now. Okay, so you were saying that when we do things to sin, in my perspective, and I say my perspective, for me, to sin is to go against yourself. But as I've recently learned, not everybody has a conscience. I didn't know that. So, yeah, like last week I learned this. So, we live in a world that if someone steals an apple because they're hungry, we will chop their hand off. And that is because of greed, because we live in a world full of greed. So if someone is hungry, and say I'm starving, and I walk into an apple orchard and I steal an apple, because I'm hungry, I'm human. Is that a sin? And then the second question is, you said to sin is to do things without Krishna. What does that mean? I'm newbie, so I don't know what that means.
I'm new here also.
I know it's like day 2.
It's like day two for me. So when I said we have two terms, sin and aparad. So you can understand when I said sin is without Krishna and aparad is against Krishna. So when we say it is without Krishna, you understand that the Vaishnav or the devotee standard of sin is actually very high. It's to even not just to forget Krishna at any moment, is to actually be like, okay, I'm without Krishna. But sin can be very much, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo. Papa means sin. Moksha ishyami mascha. If you surrender unto me, I'll take all care of those sins. But there's another term, aparads. Aparadha, radha you could say is almost devotion. Apa means against. Krishna won't accept much aparad. Aparad is basically things that go against devotion. So like one example of an aparad is the example of Vaishnava aparad, which is the offense towards a devotee. Krishna says that is the mad elephant offense. You've seen a mad elephant before?
No, they don't have too many in New York.
No, that's not in New York.
In Queens they have.
In Queens. And mad elephant is basically, if you see an elephant that's mad and running towards you, what can you do? It's like you can't stop it, you can't say stop, you can't.
So I don't understand what you're saying though. So to do something against Krishna, give me like an example. You know I do not need this mic. My voice carries. Give me an example because I don't get it. Explain to me like I'm in kindergarten.
Okay, to do something against Krishna, if I take a nice devotee, like Hadai Prana, and if I
Somebody else.
and if I push him down the stairs,
There you go.
I'm explaining like in kindergarten.
Yeah,
I used to teach.
So basically just to do harm to a devotee.
Yes. And also, you can see that because Krishna is in everybody's heart, you can see that actually everything is an expansion of Krishna. So in that way, Suridam Sarvasya Chaham Nidhi Sanivso, that basically anything that is a part of Krishna, to do harm to that.
Well then that would be anything and everything. Oh
Yeah.
God. I'm riddled with guilt because I lied to somebody earlier today and it's been eating away at me. I feel so bad.
The quality of the standard of a devotee, you can see that we can't do it ourselves
Yeah.
to come to that quality. But we try our best and we get the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by doing things that attract his mercy, and then actually Krishna will take care of the rest. Masucha. That means don't worry about it.
Okay.
Did you have anything?
Thank you, Huda. I was just going to comment on this point also because I think coming from a sort of Christian background, as soon as I would hear the word sin, my skin would crawl and I'd be like, I grew up going to church and it's like, sin, sin, sin. And it was just this whole psychological thing. But there was a point at which someone explained to me the terminology, the origin of the term sin. And I don't know if you've heard this before. It's actually, the word sin is an English term, like British English, not American English, not New York English.
Not
but
pigeon.
yeah. So it's also an archery term. And it's used that when you fire an arrow and you miss the mark, you don't hit the bullseye, you're off the mark, it's called a sin.
Yeah.
So I always appreciated understanding sin in that way, that I'm just kind of off the mark.
Yeah.
Like, there's a direct hit and a direct bullseye with how I direct my consciousness and how I conduct my life. And then sometimes I'm not really on. And usually I know when I'm not really on, I'm kind of like a little bit off and I need to get myself back on. So somehow that terminology is there. I also like the way you explained either it's kind of without Krishna or against Krishna. So that thing with the against Krishna seems like sometimes we can be unconsciously we can do things, like we make a mistake. But then sometimes we're consciously or intentionally harmful. We intentionally do something wrong or rude. And your question about the apple, it's like I'm hungry, so I jump the fence and I steal the apple. That's like one way to look at it, what you got to do. And if the farmer gets upset and punishes you, then in one sense it's within his right. But you're hungry. But there are many choices of how we can deal with being hungry. We don't necessarily have to go and steal the apple. You could go and ask for an apple. You could go and beg for the apple, or you could wait till the apple falls over the other side of the fence. There are many options. So it's just when we make a decision to do something that is actually theoretically wrong or against the rules, but it's also a gray area. Anyway, just threw that out there.
I subscribe to that definition. I don't know. I didn't know that. Thank you so much.
I think missing the mark, what you were saying, missing the mark is being off, and I think that's why in Christianity they say you're born into sin, because you're not perfect.
Yeah.
It's true. Any other comments? I just want to be mindful of time. We have 1 minute, I think.
Okay, what I have to say is short. Before I forget, I just want to share. I wanted to say that like I've been studying with like really, not very like traditional ways. Like I've been literally using ChatGPT. At least I've been like confirming the sources, and I always ask many questions. But like throughout these days that I've been studying and like all my journey, I'm noticing something really impactful, and it's the fact that I'm starting to connect the dots. And really recent things that I've been studying, everything you said today was super perfect, and you really explained yourself really well. And I just want to tell you that I'm extremely grateful for this community and for everything. And that is really nice when you notice how you're changing you're expanding your knowledge. And I'm eager to make new friends too. So yeah, I just want to let it out there that I'm willing to change my life and start going more often. So.
You're in good hands. Hey, friendship was me.
Anyone else would like to share anything?
Hare Krishna. I love your class too, so watch it for excellent. I get my thumbs up. So I just wanted to get your take on, like, sometimes I started calming dry, and at the beginning you feel such a change, but then you hit a wall and you're kind of, wow, so what's happening? I thought it was just like this all the time, right? And then you feel guilt, and then maybe you cheat a little bit, but then you like see that you actually went down. So I just wanted to get your take on how to manage guilt, and how to use it maybe in a good way, or how to, because like, you know, if you're chanting, you're trying, but you're not advancing, you feel like, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me. So I don't know, just your take on that.
My spiritual master has a good thing for guilt. He says, guilt is like a spice. You know, it's like hing. Anybody cooks here? Anybody know hing? Hing? If you put a little bit of hing, it makes the subject really good. But if you put the whole bottle of hing, it ruins the whole thing, and you can't. It's inedible. Same like salt. Salt is its effect is shown by not being tasted. If you never taste the food and you're like, wow, the salt is great. You know, it's like it's there. So same thing with guilt. Guilt in spiritual life. I always think like you do need it. You need it. I'm not saying you don't need it, but if it's so much that it's harming your spiritual life, it's unhelpful. Same like the spice. So you need it enough for you to push yourself in spiritual life more and more. But if it's hampering your spiritual life, just know that it should be taken out. That's what I would feel. Is that okay?
You know something you said really quick. Oh, sorry. Something you said really quick about people when they say it's my natural state. I would say a coal under pressure becomes a diamond. So
Yeah.
everything evolves.
So true. Thank you so much.
Trying to follow on the previous question, if we can learn for guilty, what we can learn for anger? Because in some cases being angry could be a way to understand that maybe something or someone is crossing a boundary, for example. So I remember you mentioned that during the class, so I'm considering that Krishna can also be sharing a message to us through the feelings, but we can think about that.
When I get angry, I like to ask myself a few questions. If I need to act, am I the proper person to say something? Am I in the right position to say something? And will this person able to receive my feedback? You know? And often when we're angry, we shout. You know, we shout, and that's good. You know, like sometimes I get angry at somebody. Like let's say I'm angry at Anshu or something, and I shout, and he's so close. And then so I heard from spiritual teachers that if you're angry at somebody and you keep shouting at somebody, then you may be so close physically, but your hearts are also far. So I feel like anger or correction, it should be properly placed. And you should do it in the mode of goodness, with a cool head. I hope that's helpful.
Hare Krishna. Hare Thank you very much, Hadai Prana. So we're now going to have Archie, so we ask everyone you can please stand. We'll just put the cushions and the chairs out of the way. And we'll have a little kirtan to celebrate the appearance of Shri Radharani. Thank you very much, Hadai Prana. Hey!
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से गौ श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वसति गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की श्री वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगा माई यमुना माई की तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की समावेद भक्त वृंद की इताई गौर प्रेमानंद all glories to the Samud devotees, all glories to the Samud devotees, all glories to the Samud devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste
So, Hare Krishna everyone, so just a few announcements before we move on to the serving of the feast, the prasadam. So first we'd like to thank Hadai Prana for being here and giving a wonderful talk. Please. He was telling me the other day it's the first time he's speaking here at the Bhakti Center. So we want him to definitely come back. And also thank you very much, Anshu, for thank you for leaving. Thank you for leaving Kirtan and also the bhajans in the beginning, very nice. So both of you please come back whenever you can. And let's see, so today is the day before the start of numerous festivals. So there are many, many wonderful activities that are building up. So tomorrow is the start of, anyone knows the name of the festival that starts today? You were already given a hint by Hadai Prana. Anyone remember? Ekadasi, no, thank you. No one wants to remember Ekadasi. Yes, tomorrow is Ekadasi, and that is, but it is also the first day of Julan Yatra. That's right. So we're going to have a festival, and Julan means swing, and Yatra means like festival or gathering or like that. So we're going to have Julan Yatra festival tomorrow, and starting tomorrow, it will be every evening up until Friday, and including Friday. So we're going to have it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday up on the roof. Only thing is that it's going to really be an effort to get to the roof this year. So because the elevator isn't working. But it's going to be on the rooftop, so weather permitting. So if you walk out, you're coming tomorrow night and you see it's pouring down with rain, then it will be in the temple world. But otherwise, we're going to have the swing festival. So the Chota, Radha Krishna, Radha Muralidhar that are here, they will be on a little swing, and everyone will get the opportunity to swing them on the swing while some kirtans, some sweet kirtans are going on. Yes, Prabhu?
7 p.m.?
What time?
Yeah. Let me double check. Oopsie. Pretty sure it's 7. Seven to what?
7:45.
Yeah, 7 to 7:45. But I'm known to make mistakes, so let me just make sure I get it pulled up here. Here they are. Okay, so Julan Yatra. Julan Yatra. Okay. Drum roll, please. Yes. And it is 7 until 7:45. Here you go. Okay. For once in my life, please. My wife is here as a witness. She finally gets to see I am right about something. Otherwise, usually I'm not. So, but on Thursday, it is a different time. Just to keep you on your toes, it is, drum roll please, 7:15 to 8 o'clock. But that won't matter because you'll all be here at 7 o'clock anyway in the temple room for Thursday night kirtan, so like that. And then Friday is the same time as Thursday, which was 7:15. Hari Bolu, you got it right. And you'll all already be here anyway on Friday because Friday is Lord Balaram's appearance day, Balaram Jayanti or Balaram Purnima, so like that. Okay, so, and if anyone is interested to assist, volunteer to help out with this festival in any way, Monday to Wednesday, especially, we'll need some help setting things up on the roof. I already spoke to a couple of devotees. Please come and speak to me. I'll happily engage you, give you some service for those days. Friday is Balaram Purnima. So let me just, I have all these things open. Let's see if I can get to it. So Balaram Purnima will start at 5 o'clock. Jai Shri Shri Radha Muralidhar Gaur Chandra Bhagavan Ki Jai. So Balaram Jayanti, Balaram Purnima will be on Friday. And that will start at 5. And we're going to have a special start to that festival. We're going to have an outside chanting session. So we're going to do Kirtan in the street, 5:45, my apologies. So 5:45 on Friday. So you get off work at 5, you rush here, and then we're going to go out on the street and do Harinam Sankirtan procession over to Matchless Gifts, 26, or down to Tompkins Square Park, and then come back. And then the program will start here at 6 o'clock with the Gora Arti Kirtan and everything, and we'll go up until 9 o'clock when we serve prasadam. And we have a special guest speaker on Friday night, His Grace Dinabandhu Prabhu. So he'll be here with us. Not the Dinabandhu Prabhu from Vrindavan, the Dinabandhu Prabhu from New Jersey. From Jersey, okay, he'll be here. Okay, so like that. And also, again, many opportunities if you'd like to volunteer. All of these things are on the website. You can sign up, volunteer. You can also give any sponsorship or donations that you'd like. After that, 1 week later, on Saturday, we're going to have a big festival called Janmashtami. So it is the auspicious occasion of the appearance of Sri Krishna. So Lord Krishna appeared on this day, which is next 2 Saturdays from now, which will be on the 16th of August. So we're going to have a full day festival. We're just organizing the plans. Most of the festival will be in the evening, but we are going to be open all day from 12 noon until midnight. So the darshan will be open. We'll have some different activities going on in the temple, so you're welcome to come. Again, volunteering opportunities, sponsorship. And then the day after is the appearance of Srila Prabhupada. Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki. So this year, something very exciting has happened on Prabhupada's appearance day. It is actually the first Saturday after India's Independence Day, so they're having the India Day Parade on the Sunday. Sorry, it's first Sunday after. So on the Sunday of Srila Prabhupada's appearance day, there is a large procession, a parade down Madison Avenue. And this year, the city has given ISKCON, the Hare Krishnas, a slot in the parade. So we're going to have a big Rath Yatra cart with Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, and lots of devotees chanting. Prabhupada will be on the Rath Yatra cart on his birthday, on his appearance day, coming down Madison Avenue. I can only think how amazed Prabhupada would be like, yes. He was so happy to see the Rath Yatra carts coming down 5th Avenue, so coming down Madison Avenue on his appearance day. So in order to be able to be in the parade, you have to register. So there is a registration link that has been sent around. It's in the newsletter, it's in the WhatsApp. If you don't have those, please come and speak to me so that I can make sure that you get on the groups and that you get the link if you want to be in the parade. And then there's another festival at the end of the month, but you're already festivaled out. So that's Radharani's appearance day, so that's coming on the 31st of August. One other thing I wanted to mention, and I know you're all getting hungry, 2 more things. So, this is a complete home entertainment system. Right here. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the best way. Don't get the big screen TV. It's just going to wear out over time. This is a timeless investment in your spiritual future right here. The best home entertainment system. This is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is entertainment. It is deep spiritual philosophy. So we're having an event leading up to the 7th of September, which is Vajra Purnima. It's the full moon in September. And in this book, the Bhagavatam, it explains that if you give this book, the Srimad Bhagavatam, on the occasion of Vajra Purnima, then your life becomes perfect. So like that, we want to offer all of you the opportunity to give this as a gift to yourself or to someone else. If you already have the set, you're welcome to sponsor a set or part sponsor a set. Again, all of this is on the website, but if you would like to speak to me, then you're most welcome. Okay, last thing is that today we are serving the feast at the back of the temple hall, and the feast has been sponsored by our wonderful often cook, Rajlakshmi Devi. She cooked the beautiful burritos and the Mexican last week. So it is her sister Jwalanti's birthday. It was, yesterday or Thursday, I think? Thursday was her birthday. So the feast has been sponsored today in her honor. So when you're honoring the feast, you can remember her. If you'd still like to give a donation, we won't say no. That'll help pay for next week's feast. So there's never any prohibition on giving donations here. Okay, so I think that's it. Any other announcements? Anything I missed? No? Okay, thank you all very much. So we're going to chant the Prasadam prayer before we go, because we don't do this every week, but I'd like to start trying to do it. So if you know the prayer, then you can join in. If you don't know it, then you can find it on the thing. Mahaprasade Govinde, Nama Brahmani Vaishnave, Svapa Punya Vatangaja, Vishvashona Vijayate, Sharirara Vijaya, Jodindriya Taika, Jiva Pale Vishasagare, Tamaji Javayate, Loma Moy Sinovati, Sankitari Samsare, Krishna Bora Doya Moy, Gori Bari Jiva So that's